Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Corey Rosen, and you are listening to the Story Podcast. Today, I have on a returning guest, Mr. Liam Galiano. Liam Galiano is a Lancaster. Well, he's Lancaster's resident bass geek. He loves nothing more than exploring the instrument, learning every sound that's come before, and searching for any new sound yet to be uncovered. As a hired gun, Liam is a wise old chameleon. He can play whatever the song calls for, be it a perfectly in the pocket quarter note root, a funky slap groove, a high speed picked unison lick, or a classic two feel on a double bass. As one third of the Soul Miners Union, Liam is a storyteller. Aside from co authoring the lyrics, he carefully constructs the bass lines to contribute to the arc of the tale. Dynamics shift from upper to lower registers and careful use of space allow Liam to support the song's message. As a collaborator, he enjoys reinterpreting classic tunes as well as exploring the relationship between bass and other instruments. He loves performing in a dual capacity, most commonly as Liam and Anna, with a fantastic singer Anna Kerstetter. This format allows him to explore the chordal side of the six string bass while also serving the song. As a solo artist, the song serves the bass, a showcase for extended scale, extended techniques. Liam loves to employ slap, tap, chords, and especially harmonics to take the instrument where it has never been before. Bass is a role in music. It can be fulfilled by a Fender Precision, yes, but also by a piano or tuba or voice. But bass is also an instrument, capable of much more than playing the root notes. This is Liam's passion to celebrate the total instrument of the many conventional and not so conventional ways it can translate music from his soul to your ears. Talk bass, songwriting, and finding a bass line with Liam Galliano. How are you doing today?
Good, Corey. You did well, man.
Thank
That was a
you.
real tongue twister.
It was. I've noticed you were episode 7. I've gotten much better at reading these since
Yeah,
then.
yeah. I tried to make it a little shorter for you, and unfortunately, I'm just not a very concise writer. I guess.
That's okay. It's good as a songwriter not to be so concise so much.
Truth.
So, since we've last been on, what are some projects that you've been up to? You're still a part of the Soul Miners Union. I hear they have new material out.
Yeah. So we have 2 singles since I was on last, and we are working on wrapping up our EP. So there'll be 3 more songs on top of the 2 singles. Um, Besides that, yeah, I mean, I've just been trying to kind of do some more solo stuff on the 6 string bass. Um, yeah, that's the most of it.
So, here's a question: why do you prefer six string bass over the normal four string?
So I love them both, and it totally depends on the situation. But a 6 string gives you an extra high string and an extra low string. So the extra low string really gives you that kind of like bass note, you know. And actually, Soul Miners Union, for example, down tunes a whole step. So
Really?
yeah, so we're in D standard. But you know, if you have a 6 string, you don't have to tune down to get those low notes. And then you know, the high string gives you a lot of flexibility with playing chords and with like harmonics, especially because you know, if you're thinking about like natural harmonics on the instrument, you there are very specific places where you have to play. It's almost like I don't know if anyone's messed around with, you know, finding all the natural harmonics on a bass or a guitar, but it's almost like there's a second fretboard on top of the fretboard that you're used to seeing, where you know there are all these new shapes for you can play like scales in harmonics, and they're all you know it's all these different shapes you have to learn. I imagine it's almost like if you're like a woodwind player and
Mm.
you're like playing sax and clarinet or something, you know, and you have to like learn all the different fingerings. It's just like that playing harmonics. And anyway, this is long winded, but the point is having that extra high string opens up a whole nother set of those harmonics. So you can really play around with playing chords and chord melodies.
So, for your solo project, is it just you and bass and then your voices, or?
Yeah, that's yeah, it's kind of solo based stuff and sometimes I'm singing and I'm kind of working out like how much I want to sing. I've got some tunes that are really just instrumental. I've got some where I sing a little bit. I've got some where I'm singing a lot. But I'm kind of figuring it out.
So it's you and Anna Kerstetter, right?
Oh, so yeah, that's a
That's a
separate,
separate
that's a
project. Okay.
duo thing. But yeah, no, I love playing with her. Yeah.
What's it like to take classic tunes and bassify them?
It's cool, man, because it so like anytime you take a cover, well, not anytime, but most of the time, there are a ton of layers.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a guitar, a bass, drums, horns, string section, just tons of layers that you need to uh, take apart, like pull away the parts that aren't as important and identify like what is the key part of the harmony, what are the key parts that you need to try to distill onto one instrument. And I don't know, I just think it's really exciting to like try to figure out what do I need to include to honor the song?
Mm.
What is unnecessary? And then sometimes you'll find that there's actually a lot of stuff you really have to include to, properly honor the song. And then maybe you decide, okay, I just can't play the song, on one bass. Or maybe you
On
say,
one bass as opposed to two basses.
right. Or maybe you say, how can I take all these parts and put them together? Do I have to do like a two-hand tap thing? Do I have to, say like so for example, Anna and I cover Like a Stone, and by Audio Slave, and that
Mhm.
song has this great bass line and a great guitar line in the verse, and they're both totally key. Like that song is not that song without the bass and the guitar. And so the way we do it actually is I play pretty much just the bass line for the first half of the verse, and then I play pretty much just the guitar line with like some like root notes added for the second half of the verse. And what that does is it actually changes the feel of the tune halfway through the verse, so it kind of adds some energy while also, in my opinion, honoring the song a little more than if I had only played one or the other.
Mm. So here's a question I just had randomly. Would you ever want to have like a bass ensemble?
Oh, totally. And well, not as much a bass ensemble. I mean, I would love that too. But I love the idea of collaborating with as many people as possible, and I would love to have some kind of outfit where, it's like drums, two basses, so myself and another bass player, and then, maybe a guitar, maybe keys, something like that. And the other bass player and I would sort of take turns playing, low end stuff, and then the high end like chordal and soloing and that kind of thing. And I would love that because I love like exploring the instrument, playing chords and playing harmonics. I love all that stuff, but I also love just playing bass lines too, So it'd be really fun to be able to trade that off with someone.
It sounds like you need to talk to Henry.
Henry is the perfect candidate.
Yeah,
You heard it here, Henry. I'm coming for you.
Yeah,
He's so busy though, man.
He is so busy
because he's so good.
Right, exactly. It's exactly right. I should have him on again. He was number 2.
You should.
I should have him on again. Um, that would be really cool, man. Having two basses, and then I wonder, because this is a part of your bio. How do you keep then? Because everyone has its space in its pocket, right? How do you stay within your lane essentially? As if you'd have that many stuff going on, you have your keys, you have your guitar, you have two basses. How would you organize that?
Yeah, I think in that particular band situation, everyone would just have to, well, actually with any band, everyone just has to try to serve the song. So in that context, you would really need one of the bass players to be fulfilling the bass role at all times. And, within one song, you could totally trade back and forth. Um, but but yeah, you really need one of the bass players to be always fulfilling the bass role. Or, I mean, you just said keyboard. If you had a keyboard instead of a guitar, the keyboard could do the bass too, and you got both
Bass
electric bass players doing other stuff.
That'd be really interesting, actually.
Actually, Henry would be really cool because he also plays upright bass. So it might be really fun if you had one electric bass, one upright bass, and
And
traded that back and forth.
you play upright bass too.
Right.
So
That would be really cool.
how many basses do you have?
Nowadays I have less than a dozen
Less
nowadays.
than a dozen.
Less than a dozen for sure. But I have had more than a dozen.
What's your favorite one right now?
So my 2 favorites right now, not counting the double bass because that's a separate thing, in my opinion. But my 2 favorite electric basses right now are my 1975 Fender Jazz, and that thing just, it can play anything. Anytime I show up as a hired gun, I know that the Fender Jazz is gonna handle it. And then my new bass is a Kiesel 6-string headless short scale 30-inch scale with a zebra wood fingerboard, and it is just so cool.
So you mentioned that having that 75 Fender being able to use anything. Are there different basses that handle different songs or different ways, or how does that work?
Most definitely. Now that particular bass just so I shouldn't say it can handle everything. I mean, and for one, it's a 4-string, so it doesn't have the low B and the high C that maybe you want for some applications. But for the vast majority of pop music, rock music, um, even jazz, you really just need those 4 strings with a tone that has a good fundamental, but also can cut through the mix.
Mm,
Because I found, for me anyway, that playing like a P bass, which is actually the most recorded bass in history, um, that sometimes that bass can have trouble cutting through the mix, like in a live setting, especially. So, for example, if someone wants you to play a solo or something like that, a P bass with flat wounds is not always going to do the trick, but this jazz bass will.
it's interesting. I've
Yeah.
never the complexities of basses and amps, especially as a not a guitar person, is a lot.
Yeah, and I'm not the best guy to talk to about amps. I've actually been playing my Mark bass combo for like, I mean, at least 10 years now. I'm pretty much my whole career. Pretty much all the time I've been playing bass almost. I've been playing that Mark bass. And it just sounds great, but I don't really know how to tell you, what sounds better or what sounds less good.
So for you, I as a resident gay speak, uh, bass geek of
Yeah.
Lancaster, you've been doing your TikToks and your Instagrams. Tell me about that and what's your goal with those things?
Well, I just kind of I want to have some kind of online presence. I want to try to build my brand somehow. And I'm not like an expert with this stuff at all. So if anyone wants to send me a message about what I should be doing differently, I would love to have it. But I'm just sort of, basically making content that I enjoy making, that I think maybe someone would get value out of. At least I'm trying to think about it that way. And kind of the intersection of that, is the kind of content I'm trying to make, and I'm trying to figure out then what platform is best for that. And so I'm sort of in the early stages of really trying to like figure out a social media strategy. I
Mm.
mean, I've been posting stuff on social media forever, but I'm like trying to actually be a little more strategic. And so kind of at the moment what I'm doing is trying to make content that I like, that I hope other people would like, that's high enough quality, that's worth people's time. And I'm trying to I'm putting it on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, just kind of everything, and just kind of seeing what takes off a little more, or, where people want to see that kind of content, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Are you using hashtags?
I am using hashtags.
Okay, good.
I don't know if I'm using them correctly.
Yeah, that's like the number one thing I'm learning is hashtagging is everything and
Yep.
getting the right hashtags.
See, even that's complicated though,
It
because like
is.
Instagram wants more hashtags, TikTok wants fewer. YouTube Shorts, you only get 100 characters, including the description of the video. and hashtags.
Right.
So with 100 characters, you're getting like 5 hashtags, maybe.
Maybe. Right.
Yeah. And then YouTube full length videos don't want they don't need any hashtags. You can put some, but it's much less important apparently for
Yes.
YouTube, from what I've heard.
It's all about for at least long form video. It's all about titling.
Right, on
And
YouTube. And the clip art or the thumbnail.
thumbnail, yeah, clip art.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That-
see, I love YouTube, like, as a content, consumer. I don't watch TikTok at all, and I don't have a problem with
really
yeah, I don't, like, have a problem with TikTok. It's just it's not my thing. I guess I do. The problem I have with it, for me, is that the content is too short form. I really like long form content, and so I really like YouTube, and I like listening to podcasts and interviews, and I like 20-minute videos and that, or longer.
Yeah, and I have the slight gripe with TikTok is that I think it's causing a short term gratification a little bit too much, a little bit.
Definitely could be.
Definitely could be.
I don't have any evidence for it, but it's possible. On the bright side, though, with TikTok, on the bright side for any social media nowadays, musicians and artists really haven't, and comedians, especially with TikTok,
Oh,
really,
yes.
really have a platform where we can just blow up overnight. We
That's
can just
true.
put out something that's like genuinely artistic to us, and just wake up the next morning and be like successful,
Yeah,
which is so cool.
so cool. And I must say that TikTok and these platforms are really good for that. But it's so hard to get it just right.
Yeah, yeah,
So what do you want to be your brand? You talked about your brand. What is Liam Galliano based?
yeah. So I like to see myself as a true bass player, in that I play, I push the instrument, and I do things, and this is why I aspire to be a pioneer and do things on the instrument that other people haven't done. I mean, it's a very young instrument.
Is it really?
1951 is the first electric bass ever. I mean, there were upright basses before that, but 1951 is the first electric bass. And so, and like slap pop bass, for example, was that's basically invented by Larry Graham, who's still alive. I mean, he's in his 70s, like the guy who invented slap pop bass.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So it's a very young instrument, and I feel like there's a lot to still be discovered on it, and a lot to do with it. And I think it's a very exciting time to be an electric bass player, and I'm just kind of all about it. But at the same time, I really love the instrument for those big low notes, and the role, I love it for its ability to fill the bass role in
Right.
music too. And so I really try to be someone who can just do absolutely anything on the instrument that a song calls for. And sometimes that's super advanced techniques and it's really interesting, flashy, new stuff. Sometimes it's just very basic, just good tones, and just yeah, I mean, like I said, they're a chameleon. Like I try to be a chameleon.
So what are some of the techniques you're working on now?
Could you say again? I'm sorry.
What are some of the techniques you're working on
Oh,
now?
techniques. Yeah. Well, I've really been trying to get my slap chops together. I actually started, and this probably partially explains my obsession with trying to push the instrument. Is I started playing when I heard Les Claypool for the first time in Primus, and so I've kind of been obsessed with slap bass since the beginning. And then I kind of put that on the back burner for a while because I went to NAM and like everyone's just slapping all over the place and it's just like kind of obnoxious, really. So I was like, I don't need to be a slap player. I can like figure out other things to do on the bass. And I sort of pivoted to a lot of like palm muting, where I like rest my palm on the bridge and then I kind of play almost like a classical guitarist kind of thing,
Oh, yeah.
where you use multiple fingers and your thumb. So I kind of pivoted to that instead of slapping, and I'm going back to my roots and getting back into slap. But I'm also really interested in two-hand tap, like John Ferrara is the king of that right now, from Consider the Source. But I'm kind of getting into that. That is something I've always done in original music I've composed. I mean, pretty much since like the first year I started playing, I used two-hand tap, but never very well. Like I know when I listen back to myself, I'm like, that's a cool idea. It makes sense that I'm trying because I've always used it musically because what it does is it lets you play bass notes and melodies or chords at the same time, which is
Right.
so useful musically, so useful. Um, but I've never dialed in my technique to the point where it's like consistent and like in time. And so that's something I'm starting to work on a little bit too.
So you see how you have the bass guitar. What do you want to be able to accomplish with the bass guitar? Like you say you want to be a pioneer, and I guess you don't know until you figure it out. But what is one thing you think you could do on the bass that you want to try to execute?
I think I'm really excited by the idea of being a musician who can like sing and play the instrument, play a solo bass, and kind of do almost what like a singer songwriter with like an acoustic guitar does on a guitar.
You want to be Phil Collins, but on the bass.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, with like his groove to his
Yeah.
pocket. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's something that I haven't seen very much of at all. I mean, I've seen a lot of fantastic bass players who do amazing like solo bass type stuff without singing. But the truth is, as a songwriter, I picture lyrics in my head. Like I'm very lyric driven. I saw Anthony on your podcast recently
Yes.
talk about how he prefers music without lyrics, actually, because it's more open to interpretation and which is awesome. But I am totally the opposite. I so prefer music with lyrics. And there are exceptions, of course.
Of course.
I was just talking about John Ferrara and Consider the Source. Whew. Yeah, those guys don't need lyrics, but either way, the music I write has lyrics. The melodies I write have lyrics connected to them, and so I'm really working on my singing and really trying to practice that more and get it to a point where I can create the music in my head, which has a lot of lyrics, and perform that as a soloist. And I love old tunes. I've always said I'd love to be in like a wedding band. I love like I seriously love, getting hired to just play like acoustic gigs at bars and everything and just play, top 40 or whatever. These covers that some musicians say are like cheesy or whatever, and I totally get that. I've played Mary Jane's Last Dance about 1,000 times. But I don't think it gets boring because people dig it.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. Ain't No Sunshine, like
Right.
Superstition. I've played these songs a million times.
And
And I
it's
love playing
great
it.
every time.
Yeah, I love playing it every time. Seriously. So, I definitely because of that could see myself performing that type of music. But with the extra, in my opinion, fun like puzzle of figuring out how to do it on bass.
Oh yeah. And especially to do all that cool stuff and sing, that's a lot. And that's gonna take a serious bass player and a serious vocalist and a whole lot of limb independence.
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. It's funny, man. I've been working on it and I've played at like some open mics lately and and afterwards people who are being, I ask people to be very honest because I'm working on it, and they'll
Mhm.
say, "Oh, you're a great bass player," you know, and then if I push them, they're like, "Yeah, the singing could use some work."
Yeah.
but you're a great bass player. Actually, someone gave me some really insightful advice that they said that my singing is really good rhythmically, but
Mm.
the pitch needs some work, which I know the pitch needs work, but uh, and that's hard.
Oh, that's
Oh,
hard.
it's hard, dude.
It's
It's a
so hard.
struggle, but I really appreciated that feedback, and I appreciate, or it's kind of cool that like rhythmically I've got something going there and it makes sense because it's what I've studied so long on
Bass
the
is such a
instrument.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have a sample of some of your solo projects. You want to play?
Yeah. Which one are you gonna pull up?
Goosenecking.
Goosenecking. Yeah. Okay. So this one, I wrote with Anna Kerstetter, my fiance, and she is singing in it, and she wrote the words. I actually first wrote the tune, the groove and everything back when I was in a band called Sun and Rain. That was, oh man, at least 6 years ago now, I think. Um, and so I've just kind of been sitting on this, general idea for the song ever since then. And then during quarantine, during COVID, like 2020, I'm like, all right, we are recording this finally. So I reached out to a drummer, Aaron Taylor, who's absolutely incredible. You should check out his solo music, by the way. And he recorded drums on it. They sound amazing. And then again, like 2 years went by and I still never finished it. And then finally, I got Anna to record on it, and it felt like it was missing something. And so I reached out to Bubby Lewis, who is like one of the greatest bass players of all time. This guy is incredible. He's based in Japan, and so he recorded some lead stuff on top. And so you'll hear some insane bass shredding in this. Almost none of that is me. It's almost all Bubby Lewis. Just you'll hear me playing. Actually, like we talked about earlier, I'm playing the bass. I'm playing the low, the groove,
The roots.
Yeah, and then Bubby just has some insane moments.
This is a little bit of a long piece, so hope you enjoyed this ride. This is Goosenecking by Liam Galiano.
I see from my crow's nest. And you're looking mighty fine. You know I'm a scout, baby. Enjoy a cool drink of water. I'd like to turn into wine. And you know I'm crazy, but that doesn't seem to matter to you now, does it, lately? And I will wrap my wings around your heart. The small voodoo don't scare you. I'll be glad to bring you into the sea. Whoa, 'cause I've been listening to superstition, been reading my stars and reading my moons, and we're goosenecking. I love it, I love it, I love it. I love it, I love it. Don't you love it, don't you love it, don't you love it, don't you love it, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you, don't you love me, 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 don't you, 'cause I've been listening to superstition, been reading my stars and reading my moons, 'cause we're goosenecking. Whoa, I'm summoning all of the forces I know to bring you to me, so I can swallow you whole. I'm summoning all of the forces I know to bring you to me, so I can swallow you whole. Oh, 'cause I've been listening to superstition, been reading my stars and reading my moons, and well, who's naked?
And that was Goosenecking by Liam Galiano. What a crazy song, man, with all sorts of things going on there.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm excited to officially release that. This was just kind of a sneak peek, and you know, the dude who mastered it for me, Jeff King, he's Lancaster based, and he is amazing. I can't even like the pre-master and the postmaster. I just get he postmaster. He did he did things that like I did not know were possible in the mastering process. You know what I mean? And anyway, so the point is he would like to, you know, tweak another couple things. So once that's all tweaked, then we'll be releasing that officially. But I love how it sounds now.
Is that going to be like a single, or is that going to be part of a bigger project?
It'll be a single and maybe also on an album. This is something I feel like people don't really do albums anymore.
That's been a whole conversation on this podcast.
Yeah. So I'm trying to. It'll be a single. I'm gonna make a music video for it for sure. I mean, this is an aside, but I really love editing videos too, and so I'm kind of excited to try to make like a proper music video for it. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'll release it as a video and a single, and then we'll go from there.
So where's your stance on the album single debate?
Well, the reality of the situation is, and please don't crucify me, I find that most albums are too long for me. So maybe I have the TikTok short extension span ailments myself, but I really love like EPs. I love like 5 tracks, 6 tracks. Like I said, the Soul Miners Union album that we're putting out is really an EP. It's 5 tracks. And to me, I love that format. I think you can still tell a story, and I think it's not so long that you know that you lose interest. A lot of times when I listen to albums, there are some exceptions. There are some albums out there, like for example, "The Stranger" by Billy Joel.
Right.
Pretty much every Beatles album. Those are kind of the exceptions where like I can listen to those albums straight through on repeat. listen to them over and over again, you know. But most albums, about halfway through, I find myself changing to something else.
I've never been able to sit through an album. That is a crime I have committed.
That's what you're saying. You have trouble listening to a whole album?
Oh, I've never attempted even.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, The Stranger by Billy Joel is a really good place to start
I
because that's basically a greatest hits. I mean,
oh, is it?
it's not. I mean, but it basically is because
Okay.
every single song is out of this world. No bad song on that.
I'll have to check it out. I know it's kind of like a crime because everyone has like their favorite album. I'm like, I've never listened to it.
Yeah, so I
I
mean,
should do it. I really should do it.
yeah, so I mean, I identify with you. I mean, well, so I was just listening to Jaco Pastorius's great album, you know, and it happened like halfway through. I'm like, oh man, this was amazing. But then I like looked and there's still like 5 songs left, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta listen to something else. But that's why I think an EP, you know, a 5 or 6 track EP is or should be like the wave of the future. I'm not super in love with the idea that it's all going to be singles from
Yeah, I
now
hate
on.
that.
Yeah, so I feel like there's a nice in between. And you know, something I've been thinking about is it'd be really cool to release like a 5-track EP or album, and then release like another 5-track EP that maybe you master them together too. So it's almost like releasing an album in 2 halves, and then
Like,
you
it's
can
like a
sell
double EP almost.
what?
Like a double EP.
Oh, a
as
double
opposed
EP. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm sure I'm not inventing this.
No,
But-
well,
but the
I just
idea
made
is-
that up because it's
Oh, okay,
like
yeah.
you have a double album, right?
Right.
Get that concept one up, add it to a
So-
double EP.
Yeah, and then if you make the artwork similar, I feel like you could then sell this. You could print vinyl because people are getting into vinyl now, which
They
is
are.
awesome. So you can now print this on vinyl with one album on the front, one album on the back, and you could even put like your artwork, artwork on the front for the one album, artwork on the back for the other album. And so basically, you've released them in 2 pieces, but then you can market them
Together.
together.
If people, I'm pretty sure people already do that for like when they make double albums, when they make 24 song set lists.
Yeah.
It's just shortening it down and making them. It's a
I'm sure people already do it, but
Oh,
it's
I-
something I feel like that to me
That's
is
the
like
way.
it feels like a good way forward where you can still maintain, you know, the integrity of an album, like still tell a story.
like the concept, yeah,
Yeah.
of an
without-
album,
yeah.
and it's the it's the whole fight over should we watch a movie or should we watch a Netflix series or something like
Right.
that, right? Long form over short form, and I like EPs. EPs are really nice. They're you can listen to them on your drive to work. An album you have to like dedicate time and block it out to like,
Totally.
listen to.
Yeah, totally.
So for getting onto the Soul Miners Union, you've been doing that. Actually, before we switch off bass, there was a few questions from the audience about bass. So do you find that rat runes, as far as tone, I find them a bit muddy personally. How do you find rat runes?
Flat wounds.
Flat wounds. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
blind.
Got it. So yeah, flat wounds. So that's kind of like that's what I was talking about earlier. So
Mhm.
like I said, you know, like a P bass with flat wounds is kind of like the quintessential bass sound. I mean, it's probably the most recorded bass sound. Well, sorry, most recorded electric bass sound in history. Which now I think about might also be the most
Might also
recorded
be.
bass sound because I don't, you know, they didn't have recording, you know, in the 1700s. But anyway, regardless, yeah. Anyway, that sound is awesome. Like in the studio, especially, I think, because it sits really well into the mix, like in the studio. But I think when in a live setting, sometimes that sound can really get lost. You know, with a full band playing live, or like if you're expected to do like a solo or something, plays like a melody, like something where the bass is doing more than just holding down the low end. Like it can definitely you can get lost in the mix for sure. It could be muddy.
So onto the Soul Miners Union, you guys just had release come out this past New Year, and you're set to come out for another one.
Yeah. So so our first single was a couple months prior to that, near the end of 2022. And then this one that you have here is called Searching for Home. This one we dropped like at the last minute of 2022, pretty much, like right before the new year. And then and we actually, talking about video editing, I edited together a YouTube video. Go check out our channel. I put together a YouTube video of like all of a bunch of highlights of 2022. So there are a lot of like fun like videos in there, just like band being goofy and stuff like that. And then yeah, we've got 3 more tracks for this EP. We don't have an exact release date yet, but they're being mastered and mixed right now.
It was the theme, if you can give that away.
The theme of the EP?
Yeah.
I would consider the theme like power trio. You know, like really if you're looking for, if you want to listen to it and you're all about guitar and vocals and kind of like that kind of thing, I mean, you know, you have that with Ben for sure.
Ben Brandt, yeah.
But if you want to listen to it and you're a drummer or a bass nerd, there's a lot of really cool bass stuff, a lot of really, really great drumming stuff.
So
And let me say too, the sound we were really going for was like kind of a live one, you know,
Okay.
it really, like when the album is not perfect, which I like
yes.
personally. I mean, that was kind of the intention. We want you to listen to it and kind of like think that you could be at a live show, you know? And so we, you know, double tracked some guitars, but not much. I mean, like there might be like 2 tracks of guitars, but they're like, there's no like keyboards or nothing that the band doesn't have in a live setting.
Right. So tell me about a little bit about this piece.
Searching for Home. Ben and I started writing a little, kind of a while ago now. Actually, it's the second song that we wrote together. And yeah, I mean, pretty much this one. So kind of all of the songs that we wrote on this EP, we kind of co-wrote the lyrics for, but some of them he wrote much more of the lyrics. Some of them I wrote much more of the lyrics. This one is much more my lyrics that I kind of originally wrote out all the lyrics and then he tweaked pieces of it to better, you know, he's got a real style, like a real singing style. That is not the same as mine. So, which is cool. But it means that, you know, when I write lyrics, he needs to tweak them around so that they sound like something that he would sing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool track. I think this one of all the songs on the EP really captures the live sound the most.
With that said, this is Searching for Home by the Soul Miners Union.
I spin a wheels on getting nowhere. I feel like my time's gone. I'm stuck in a town where no one gives a damn. I feel like I better hit the road. I got a house, ain't got no home. I got a place to call my own. Searching for my higher ground. Stuck in a place where I'm all alone. Stuck in heads that seem to come and go. I'd rather be anywhere but here. I feel like it's best that I go. I got a house, ain't got no home. I got a place to call my own. Searching for my higher ground. Where I go, I won't be found. Living this town won't turn back around. Where I go, you will find me. I leave you all behind me. A place to rest my head. Where I go, you won't know. The path is shown. I'm searching for my home. I'm searching for my searching for my ground. Where I go, I won't be found. Leave us now, won't turn back around. I'll turn my radio up real loud.
And that was by the Soul Miners Union. That's Searching for Home. They have their new album or EP coming out sometime this year.
Yep. And you know what? I forgot to mention that we recorded that at the Swamp Studios with Johnny B.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make sure to mention that because that's definitely a part of why it sounds so great. That and Shane Moore mixing it and recording it and everything. Super talented, and it was great having Johnny share his wisdom in his space.
So we're kind of running out of time here. Where can people find you in your projects?
Yeah, you can find me on pretty much all those social medias, not Twitter, but yeah, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I think I'm just Liam Galiano on all of them. Yeah, Galiano.
So we have I like to ask all these questions to my guests before we get into our last part. So, and I have to remember which questions of these I've asked you before. Since you've been on the show, what is one of the funniest experiences you've had?
Whoa, I did not see this coming.
Like on a gig or like worst things that ever happened.
It's tough. Ask me another one. I'm gonna think about that and come back to it.
All right. So, what is one of the best pieces of advice that anyone's ever given you in regards to music?
Dude, I am like not prepared for these questions at all. I think I can't name like who exactly has told me. I think a lot of people have probably said this to me, but I just think trying to be authentic to yourself and not being afraid of what you think other people want you to sound like. I mean, you need to serve the song, but you need to serve the song through the lens of what you believe serves the song.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. Did you think of anything funny?
I totally did not, dude. I'm very sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. So we have one more piece of yours, Ollie's Pond.
Yeah. So, excuse me. This is part of like a series, I guess, that I'm doing called Base Nature Coffee. Pretty much, I'm just filming nature scenes as I see them, and I'm basically like then later watching these nature scenes and thinking of like basically I'm composing a song on the solo bass, usually while drinking coffee, or always. I drink a lot of coffee. And I'm just sort of trying to recreate what I'm seeing, or just write something that I think sort of captures the nature scene, because I think music and nature are are just
Yeah.
very connected. And I, sometime in the future, I would love to like, steal the comedians in cars getting coffee, do like bassists in nature drinking coffee or something ridiculous like that.
That'd be really cool music videos of just you walking down a nature path and playing your bass guitar.
Yeah,
That'd be a
yeah.
really cool music video.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So with that said, that's how we're going to end out tonight. If you are interested in hearing more, this is the Story Podcast. My name is Corey Rosen. This is Liam Galiano. You can find out more about me at my website, CoreyRosenProductions.com. That's CORYROSEN Productions.com. You can find out more about the previous guests that I've had on and all the personal projects that I'm currently working on. There's a few of them. And up next we have we got a free weekend for once in this podcast history almost.
Wow.
Yeah, right. I gotta go home and do some dental work.
Not
so.
4 guests in 1 week, not 3 guests. No guests.
No guests in 1 week. Or at least 1 weekend at least. This Monday we have Jake Mock coming on. He's a local country CPMA nominee this year, I think. So we're gonna talk country music, and all things about him. And then next Saturday we have a 2-for-1 deal. We got Angel Dway. He's coming in. He's an Afrobeat maker and rapper, and he'll be coming in. And we have Grimlock, who is a rapper, a rapper producer around in the area. And if I'm not mistaken, he's bringing his brother, who's also a local activist artist as well. So I'm really excited to have all 3 of those people come in and just hang out and talk music for a little bit. With all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and we will see you guys later. Bye.